welcome back. And we're moving into our second conversation for today, focusing on the upcoming Earth Day celebration. And joining us are representatives of the University of Belize. We have Cano, who is a lecturer in the Natural Resource Management Program. And we have Joaquin Magana, who is also a lecturer, but also the coordinator of Earth Day activities. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
What are we looking at in terms of the activities organized by the University of Belize for Earth Day 2017? I know you guys have an annual program where there's a fair and other events taking place. What can we expect this year?
Yeah, this year we tried to make it different from other years. In fact, we're celebrating the 10th annual Earth Day. And what we have is we were supposed to have a ceremony. During that ceremony, we have invited Mr. Raff that is supposed to give a highlight of environmental issues with pictures. Mm-hmm. We are also trying to get his daughter to come in. And apart from the ceremony, we are expecting to have booths and have NGOs, have government offices be present with their booths and present what they're doing. We're also going to launch our it was not our fundraiser, it's our actual competition, which Mr. Cano will be talking about. And also we will have a tour of the facilities and our greenhouse and the solar panels that we have at the university, particularly for primary schools and the high schools.
Now, this is something that is celebrated worldwide, and of course it is based on different themes each year, and sometimes even more specified towards the country that is celebrating. Right. What theme are we using this year?
Well, the global theme for Earth Day worldwide is environmental and climate literacy. And so when we sat down to begin planning this Earth Day event, we did want to come together to find something that would be a little bit more specific to us here in Belize. So we settled for our theme to be My Community, My Climate, whereby we're all stakeholders when it comes to our climate. So we have to take ownership of it.
What does it mean to be environmentally literate and climate literate?
Well, I think it could mean a lot of different things, but I believe at its essence, it means that you're conscious. You're conscious as to the impacts of climate change. You're conscious on your own impact on the environment, and then to take that a step beyond that you're able to take that consciousness and take action upon it. Right? Control what you can control with regards to the environment and the greater challenge of climate change.
Now let's talk about the wider conversation in Belize in terms of climate change. I think we have heard more and more what I would imagine to be a success for you guys who've promoted this for a very long time, is that now in terms of development projects, in terms of infrastructure projects, we're hearing persons talk about climate change resilience. What does this mean in terms of where we are as a country in recognizing that this is a pillar that is necessary to consider when planning anything?
Well, it's very important because, as you heard from the Ministry of Agriculture, right? I was thinking they want to create that image of resiliency among the farmers, right? But there are so many impacts that we're going to be getting from climate change. And climate change, we have to admit it's here. And it's here to stay for quite a period of time. Now, if we look a little bit at how that will impact Belize, there are a number of things how we're going to be impacted. Just the other day, Mr. Cano and I, we did that because of climate change, the temperature is rising, and the ice is melting. Yeah. So that means the sea level will rise. Yeah. So we did a little model, and we were able to see how that would impact I think it was 100 years, right? Remember the map that we created? Belize City will definitely be affected. Certain areas will be underwater. Not only Belize City, but many of the coastal areas will be underwater. For the farmers, they might not see that impact because most of the farming are inland, right?
Islands, yeah.
No, but then the other issue with climate change is that weather will be impacted.
Yeah. It's already been impacted.
Yes.
Yeah, we're having rains in April. We didn't have our regular March winds.
Right.
Or cold fronts came 2 months late,
Right.
and were minuscule, or minimal, I should say. So I think that's one of the things that people have started to recognize, that
Right.
something's different. Or farmers say it,
Yes.
People within the tourism industry say it.
Right.
When you expect to have rain, you're not getting rain. When you expect to have dry, you're not having dry. How do we tie this back in? Or when it seems extremely hot, or hotter than it usually is around a particular time of year, how do you take these real life experiences and take it back to having people understand why we're here?
I think Belize, in general, at least compared to other countries, we're rather conscious about the impacts of climate change. And I think the reason is that many of us are impacted daily.
Yeah.
In the segment you had just before, a wide portion of our population depends on their natural resources, on agriculture, on fisheries for their livelihoods. So their impact is immediate.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a bit kind of counterintuitive. We're a very small country. We don't contribute much towards climate change, but we're going to be one of the countries that is most affected.
Yeah.
I heard, going back to your question, I heard, I forget the gentleman's name, but I listened to his speech once, and he said there are really 3 types of people that come about with climate change. There are those who are at the forefront of pushing it. There are those who, after getting the knowledge, they'll come to accept it and adapt with it. And then there are some that are very resistant to it. And it's certainly true. One of the hardest things that we face with climate change is skeptics and getting whole belief. But it is something I think we're a little bit better off here in Belize.
I'm glad that you raised the issue of skepticism that goes along with this whole thing. I can recall, I'd say almost 2 decades ago, the whole issue of El Nino and this phenomenon. And it came and went, and with very little impact to some people who were not as knowledgeable or intimate with how the effects of it would have affected all of us. I think it's the same way you have people who think, climate change is only something that exists among people who theorize what will happen down. Because of that, the skepticism comes about. 100 years from now, Marlene and I won't be around, right? You guys won't be around either. So then the going mentality is, so what is there for us to preserve now as to why climate change is such a big deal? How do you respond to something like that?
This really ties into this whole idea of conservation and sustainability. I always put this to all my classes. I tell them, us as humans, we're very, very special in the sense that we can perceive a future. If you can perceive a future, you can think about the generations that are to come. If you have children, that's even more impactful to you, that you want them to have a better life. When they're your age, you want your grandchildren or future grandchildren to have a better life. You want them to have the same resources that you had when you were coming up, and you perhaps even better. So our current generation, we have the onus on us to really make that impact, to either save or destroy our planet now.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, right now we have the Barrier Reef, right? In 100 years, perhaps we might not even have that. And you know that Belize's economy depends
Heavily on tourism product.
tourism. Not only the fisheries. Many people come to Belize not because they want to be here in our country, but they like to go snorkeling, scuba diving, and all of that, right? And that is one of the impacts that we will definitely see as a result of climate change, because you know that the major reason why climate change is occurring is because of the increase in the greenhouse gases, right? One of them is carbon dioxide. You have methane as well. Now, carbon dioxide, what it does is that it mixes with the water and then turns the pH into acid. Our coral reefs are made of calcium carbonate. Acid and carbonate, it will start to disintegrate, and not only that, apart from ocean acidification, we also will see that the sea level will rise, and literally the coral reefs will drown because they can only grow at a certain depth, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, and you brought up this topic of El Nino. It has not been proven that it's part of climate change, but it has been occurring, and it will continue to occur, and it occurs between 3 to 5, 7 years. And in 1998, that was the most intense El Nino that the whole planet experienced. That same year, I don't know if you guys recall, Mitch impacted this whole region, and as a result, our reefs are becoming less healthy. So these things will continue to occur. It's expected that as of 1990, the intensity of hurricanes have become stronger. Before, we used to have a category 5 every 7 to 8 years. Now the time span has shrunk, and we are expected to be getting
more,
even worse.
And not only that, I think the storms moving farther and further outside of the actual designated hurricane season remind us that things have become a lot more unpredictable. You know, you pointed out something I think that is very true. In Belize, we understand, I'm saying as a generalization, I think we understand how climate change has impacted us. We see changes and we automatically attribute them to climate change. The rest of the world now is on a very important path at this time to educate people even more about climate change. Given the recent statements by the new president of the United States, once again taking us way back to when people were skeptical about climate change, and even potentially looking at backing out of the very historic Paris Agreement. What does that mean? Explain to us, because people see it as a bit far removed. What does it mean when the rest of the globe is kind of second guessing this very historic agreement that had a direct impact on us? How do you explain that to people?
Well, that's a very tricky question. It's a very tricky situation there.
It is,
one of the things that I think you rightfully mentioned, the Paris Agreement from a couple of years ago, that was a very significant effort, partly because you had the two largest polluters in the world, or two largest contributors, in the US and China spearheading this agreement. Now with the United States looking to come out of that agreement, and you hear rhetoric talking about reinstilling coal, moving away from solar, doing away with their Department of the Environment completely. You know, it's scary. And again, it brings us back to the point that while we as our small little Belize, you know, we're not very big contributors. You know, it's us, it's other small countries, it's small island nations that are going to be the most impacted. They're gonna feel it first. But the truth of it all, or the scary truth of it all, is that everybody will be impacted by climate change. Some might feel it first, but you know, we're all
in the end, everybody will get it.
In other words, if there's a country that moves in the opposite direction, instead of lowering their emissions, moving towards sustaining what they have now or possibly increasing, then we will see a worse than even the models that you put together for 100 years from now
might change.
Will change and the time shorten.
Like how Antonio said it right. I sometimes think that these people, when I say these people, the ones that are not pro climate change, maybe it's because they really haven't been affected, that they don't understand the importance of climate change. I have felt it in my years of age. That I have quite some time. I felt the change, not only with the hurricanes. I felt it with the temperature itself. I remember, and I told my students back in the days when I was a kid, the same house that my dad has, we used to pass the night with only a simple little fan. Right now, we can't live. I can't sleep in that house. he had to install an AC. Now, it is not a luxury like in the past. It is a necessity. So,
and the funny thing about that is that in doing so, we're also contributing to climate
well,
change.
but then
And the record-breaking hottest month keeps on changing as each month goes by.
And, I think we're at a point though where we have to take very serious measures.
Yeah.
It has to be a very global effort. And I think we're very well positioned here in Belize.
Isn't it delicate in a sense that we would want to go green and minimize our carbon footprint and all these other good stuff, but in terms of development, we also are in a sense contributing, like you said. Simple example that you used earlier. Several years ago, as a child growing up, you were able to survive the night, if I may, using a simple fan. Now it has gotten to the point where a fan doesn't cut it anymore. You need to cool the entire building. But to do so, you're now also contributing to the very same thing that you're trying to prevent.
Yeah.
It's delicate, it's sensitive when you look
But
at
you
it.
see, there's where the resiliency comes, because you need to adapt and use technology to reduce your emissions. And this is the reason why I don't understand why these countries, instead of promoting technology, they still want to continue with the use of fossil fuels. So it defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how we continue to spread this message on Earth Day. I think any skeptic who's watching who's saying, "Oh, we've all bought in by now," but you're using this opportunity to educate people who still don't quite understand that much about climate change. So how do you take the message out to the masses?
Sure. Well, first, we'd like to invite everybody to come out to our Earth Day, our Earth Day Fair, which will be at the University of Belize Central Campus at the Jaguar building. So we're going to have lots of booths there, and hopefully through those booths we can share a lot of outreach as well. We also are planning to engage, starting this week, to begin engaging in a little outreach campaign to the schools.
Okay.
So we're hoping to get that message out, but additionally, technologies exist where we can share a message a lot easier as well.
Yeah.
We have our Earth Day page on Facebook, which people can look us up, UB Earth Day, where we'll be sharing content relating to our outreach efforts. Again, trying to get this message out about climate change as well as the Earth Day event itself.
Yeah. And Earth Day is celebrated on the 22nd, but because of our Easter vacation, you're celebrating it on the 28th.
We decided to move it to the 28th. The reason, we're doing all of this, and we believe that it is very important to include the children and the high schoolers. So see, if they're not going to be in class, then we're talking about approximately 800 to 1,000 students that won't be visiting, right?
So it's next Friday at the University of Belize campus. And what can other people do to commemorate Earth Day? What are some of the things that you're encouraging people to do to show our appreciation to our collective home?
Well, one of the things that people can do is, like for instance, right now, if I may, I would like to big up our sponsor, our main sponsor. In fact, this is the first year that the sponsor that we have is not a typical part of the
conservation.
So if I may, I would like to big up Ready Cash. They are sponsoring this fair, and the reason why they bought in is because they are promoting the technology. Like for instance, in my case, they are willing to give loans for people to buy in and, like for example, install solar panels.
Okay.
They are also promoting loans to students this coming year. So this year is totally different because other years we have always had, if it wasn't packed, it was someone else
An environmental
from the
or
environment.
conservation agency. That's good. So you have the private sector buying
Right.
into the idea as
And
well.
one of the main reasons is for people to use alternative technology to alleviate and to reduce the carbon emissions that we have.
Okay. So definitely, and we've seen even, I believe, some of the financial institutions offering financing to some of the industries, some of the persons in the tourism industry to move green as well.
Right.
So there's more incentive. It's
Right.
just getting people to want to make the
Right.
extra move. Right. Okay, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for stopping in. Anything else you'd like to share about the upcoming commemoration of Earth Day?
Just for again, we'll have the event at UB or UB Central Campus. If you are unable to make it, please be aware that the Earth Day is the 22nd. But again, we should probably make a conscious effort to take care of our environment each and every day.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead and take a break now, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about how to detox your body after this Easter break, so stay tuned.